Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and yesterday I did a video discussing my strength standards, the 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 strength standard, and a lot of people kind of chimed in and said, Jason, some of these are a lot easier to hit than others, and actually what's really funny was that different people addressed different points, so let's talk about that. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skill at my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Yeah, obviously when you give multiple different standards of things that you're looking at, and you're trying to give a well-balanced end result by comparing different things that you can do, some of those things are going to be a lot easier than others for some people, right? And a lot of people really noted that. It's funny because some people felt like the standards weren't necessarily good because some seem so easy to reach versus others. But what they didn't realize is that it is the combination of them that creates that. In other words, I didn't set forward these standards to say, hey, if you reach one or two of these, you're going to reach your goals. I set forward 5 individual strength standards that if you achieve all 5 of these as a drug-free lifter, you're probably going to be pretty jacked for a natural guy. You're going to be pretty jacked. You're going to have good body composition and pretty decent overall muscle balance. In other words, you're going to be pretty well built from top to bottom, right? You're not going to have probably too many major glaring muscle weaknesses. And so in other words, if you are only meeting 3 or 4 of those 5 standards, odds are you probably have some sort of muscle imbalance somewhere. You're not extremely well developed yet. You have a long way to go, or there's maybe a body composition issue. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. And a lot of people didn't grasp it because like the chin-up one or the pull-up one was the funniest one because that's actually in there as a control. And I had some power lifters come in and say, oh man, I mean, I'm strong on squat, bench, and deadlift, but no, that pull-up requirement, I mean, I way exceeded these others, but I can't do that. Exactly. That's the point. That's because you're essentially a power lifter and you probably look just like a power lifter. And you're probably pretty big, pretty thick, but your body composition and overall balance maybe isn't that great, right? And that's the point of that. Because they're carrying extra body fat. Maybe they're a little lower body dominant, not way too much body fat, haven't really gotten strong at actual pull-ups and things. So maybe they've got a lat and a bicep deficiency, right? Maybe the rest of their back is well developed, all their traps, erectors, everything else from a heavy deadlift, but they're missing some size and thickness in the rest of their back, their mid-back. Biceps, things like that are probably weak, and so therefore they're not necessarily going to look as jacked to a lot of people as they could, and their body fat's probably too high. So that was thrown in there for that reason. It's thrown in there for that reason. This is for people to have a general, all-around, well-built musculature, right? Well-built musculature and a reasonable, healthy body composition, a decently athletic body composition. And so the pull-up is thrown in there to throw that off a bit. It's in there to balance that back out for people who just wanted to bulk and get fat. Because let's be realistic here. Do you want to know the easiest one of those to reach for someone who really, really got fat quickly? Probably be the bench press. In other words, I could take a novice lifter who starts at 150 pounds and have him reach that in his first year in the gym. These are not intended as one-year goals, by the way. Very rare is the individual who would reach these 5 goals in 1 year. That would be probably freak genetics. In other words, a top 1% genetics for strength, muscle mass, body composition, things like that. If a person walked into a gym and hit these 5 in the first year, almost unheard of. Easily top 1%. These are closer to a 3 to 5 year goal, right? That's what we mean. This is something that should take you probably 3 years to reach if you're average or slightly good genetics. If you really, really, really train efficiently, everything is on point. For people who aren't that great, you're looking at 5 or 6 years of very, very hard, proper training. People who are maybe slightly outliers, might have minor medical issues, things like that, getting in the way. People who are outliers, it's going to take 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. So it's a long-term endeavor. But if you wanted someone to reach one of these inside the first year, the bench press would be the easiest to reach, or the pull-ups would be the easiest to reach. But if you did either one of those, you will probably suck at everything else. And that's the whole point. These were meant to balance things out. And the pull-up and chin-up is the one that got hit the most, and then the bench the next most. But yeah, if you took a guy who's 150 pounds and you force-fed him, right? You had him gain 1.5 pounds every single week of just eating garbage. 1.5 pounds every week, right? You take a 150-pound guy and you put him on a bench-specific program who's never been in a gym before, you have him gain 1.5 pounds a week so that he's put on 75 or 80 pounds, most of it fat, in 1 year. You get him up to 225, 230. He's going to bench 300. But he probably won't be able to do a body weight pull-up, let alone a 100-pound pull-up, right? He's going to struggle with that. He's going to struggle with that. By that same token, a lot of guys are like, I think this pull-up is really easy to reach. And it's like, you go tell that to someone who really trains it. A 100-pound weighted pull-up or weighted chin-up from a dead hang at the bottom is easy to reach. It's not. It's not if you've actually done the other things. Because, yeah, if you stay really skinny, if you start at 150 pounds and you don't gain hardly any weight, you don't train your legs. So let's say you're not even close to the squat or the deadlift. Let's say you can only squat 95 pounds. Because you don't train your legs at all, and you let your legs stay the same size they were when you were 150, and you don't bulk, and you do tons and tons of pull-ups and chin-ups and get good at weighted ones, yeah, you could reach that inside of 1 year easily. Especially if you stayed at 150 or 155 pounds, and you specialize in that, that could be done. And that's what a lot of people said. Well, I think that's the easiest one to reach. That's just so I did that. I hit a 115-pound weighted pull-up at whatever, but I can't even squat 300. Exactly. And that's the point. Here's the problem we run into. Guys can do that without bulking, and they can do that without gaining muscle everywhere. In other words, the pull-up or the chin-up, yeah, it puts a lot of muscle in your biceps, forearms, lats, even a little bit of upper chest, a little bit of tricep, all that, right? But if you focus on just that, how much muscle is that really? 5 pounds of muscle added to your frame? So if you're 155 pounds and you slap 5 or 6 pounds of solid muscle to those areas, that's a lot for those areas. But you're still going to weigh under 160. I'm talking about only doing a 250, 260 pound total pull-up. That's really not that much. I do that for multiple sets of 5s every workout. Right? I do that every workout for 5 rep sets, 3 by 5, every time I train. That's not really that strong. And it's because you didn't gain any weight. It's a different ball game when you start actually training, because why? You're going to have to put on body weight. You're going to have to bulk and gain a little bit of fat and muscle. And if you're trying to build your squat up to 350, 365, 400, trying to get your deadlift up to 450 or closer to 500, you're probably going to have to bulk a little bit to do that. You're not going to weigh 150 pounds anymore, guys. If you're an average height guy who started at 150, you're not going to weigh 150 anymore when you get there. You're probably going to have put on 20 pounds of muscle. Not muscle, but muscle. You've probably put on 20 pounds of muscle. You've probably put on 10 pounds of fat, 15 pounds of fat on the way of trying to get there, especially if you're trying to get to that bench number. Especially if you're trying to get to the bench press number. So you might be weighing 180, not 150, not 155. You might be 180, 185 already, maybe 190. All right, now you've got to pull 285, 290 pounds, maybe more, to hit that 100 pound. That's a lot harder. That's quite a bit harder. Maybe you've had to bulk to 200 pounds, and you probably have. You know, most guys to hit those numbers are probably going to have to bulk to 200 pounds. Now you got to do a 300 pound pull-up. So you might have to cut a little bit to actually reach it. And that was the whole point of all of this. It's not that any of these are hard. If someone's put all their efforts and put their diet, their caloric intake, their training stress into just one of these 5 goals, any of these 5 can be reached really, really fast and really easy, right? They would be easy if you only had to do one of the 5. But the point was that the goal is for someone who wants to be a natural, wants to be well developed, look like they lift, be jacked top to bottom with no major muscle imbalances. You need to hit all 5. You need to hit all 5, not just 3 out of 5, not just 4 out of 5. You need to hit 5 out of 5. And if you can't, it's kind of a guide to let you know what you need to work on. So you need to be able to do your body weight plus 100 pounds on a pull-up or a chin-up, a 200-pound standing press that you walk out of the rack and walk it back in yourself, so you've got to press it from the bottom, 300 bench, 400 squat, 500 deadlift. That was the strength standard. And it doesn't mean some of those, the purpose was that the standard is the 5 lifts. It's not, hey, I'm doing one of these 5. To do them all concurrently, because hell yeah, it's real easy to get the pull-up. If you don't ever bulk and you don't train your lower body at all to add more weight to it, and you're a skinny 150-pound, skinny guy, and you focus on only weighted pull-ups, of course you're going to reach it. If you just bulk your ass off and don't do anything but bench press all the time and live on double bacon cheeseburgers and pizza and put on 80 pounds of body weight, of course you're going to reach a 300 bench. Especially if you learn to arch and you get a nice big fat chest and a fat belly. Of course it's easy to reach the 300 bench. But try doing it while staying at 200 pounds or lower. Try doing it at 190 pounds while being able to hit that pull-up, right? That's where it gets tricky. It's about the balance of the 5. And that's what some people seem to have missed in this. They've got too focused on 1 or 2 of the goals and didn't realize the whole point of this is that it's all 5 concurrently is what I'm recommending as a guide, as a standard. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.